The sun was dipping low over the Texas plains, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. Emily stood near the edge of the corral, her heart pounding in her chest as she watched the horses move gracefully in the fading light. She was a city girl, through and through, raised amidst skyscrapers and busy streets, and yet here she was, far from everything familiar, trying to find her footing on a sprawling ranch owned by none other than Alexander Cole. The infamous billionaire cowboy. Alexander was everything Emily wasn't: rugged, confident, and commanding. His reputation preceded him, a man who ruled his empire with an iron fist, yet whose softer side few had ever glimpsed. Emily had been hired to help with the ranch's new marketing campaign, but the moment she arrived, she realized this wasn't just a job. It was a world she never expected to step into. One evening, after a long day of meetings and site visits, Emily found herself alone with Alexander near the fire pit outside the main house. The stars stretched out above them, vast and endless. She was nervous, but there was something about the quiet night that made her want to speak her truth. Taking a deep breath, she looked at him and whispered, "I'm still a virgin." The words hung in the air between them, fragile and raw. Alexander's eyes twinkled with a mixture of surprise and amusement. He smiled, a slow, confident curve of his lips that made Emily's cheeks flush. "Not for long, sweetheart," he said, his voice low and teasing. Emily's heart raced, both scared and intrigued by the boldness of his words. She wasn't sure what she was getting into, but something about Alexander's presence made her feel safe, enough to explore the unknown. The night stretched on with laughter, stories, and a quiet promise that this was only the beginning. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the Texas sun casting golden light over the vast ranch. Emily awoke with a mix of excitement and nerves swirling in her chest. The night before lingered in her mind, Alexander's teasing words, his confident smile, and the undeniable spark that had ignited between them. But today, she realized, this was more than a fleeting moment. It was a challenge, one that would push her beyond the boundaries she had carefully built around herself. As she stepped outside, Alexander was already there, boots dusty from an early ride, hat tipped low against the sun. He looked every bit the cowboy she'd imagined and more, strong, grounded, and completely at ease in his world. "Ready to face the day?" he asked with a grin. Emily nodded, determination flaring in her eyes. She might be a city girl, but she was no stranger to hard work, and she was ready to prove herself. Alexander's challenge wasn't just about ranch duties, it was about trust, vulnerability, and stepping into a world where appearances didn't matter. Over the next days, he taught her how to ride a horse, mend fences, and read the land. With every lesson, Emily felt herself growing stronger, physically, but more importantly, emotionally. One afternoon, as they worked side by side, repairing a broken gate, Alexander stopped and looked at her seriously. "You're doing better than most," he said, "but there's more to this than muscles and skills. It's about opening up to yourself and to me." Emily swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words. The challenge was no longer just about ranch work, it was about breaking down the walls around her heart. That night, under a sky full of stars, they sat by the fire again. Alexander's voice was softer this time. "Tell me what scares you," he said. Emily hesitated, then whispered, "I'm scared, I'll never be enough. That I'm too different from you." He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're exactly who you need to be, and I'm here to show you that." The challenge had become something deeper, a journey toward trust, and maybe, love. The days on the ranch settled into a comforting rhythm, yet beneath the routine, Emily's heart was quietly battling the fears she had long kept hidden. Trust was a fragile thing, especially for someone like her, who had always guarded her emotions like precious secrets. Alexander sensed the hesitation in her, but he never pushed. Instead, he offered patience wrapped in steady kindness, a look, a smile, a simple touch that slowly chipped away at the walls she had built. One afternoon, as a storm rolled in from the west, they found themselves holed up in the cozy cabin near the barn. The rain tapped softly against the windows, creating a peaceful soundtrack for the conversation that was about to unfold. Emily sat by the fire, warmth seeping into her chilled fingers, while Alexander leaned back in his chair, eyes thoughtful. "I want to know you," he said quietly, "not just the parts you show the world, but the real you." She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "It's not easy for me to trust. I've been hurt before." He nodded slowly, understanding. "We all carry scars, but you don't have to face them alone." The moment felt fragile, like a flower blooming in the rain. Emily let her guard slip just a little, sharing stories of her past, of dreams deferred, and fears of being unlovable. Alexander listened, truly listened, without judgment or interruption, and when she finished, he reached out, his hand covering hers in a silent promise. From that day forward, trust began to grow between them, not perfect, not without doubts, but real and rooted in honesty. Their bond deepened in quiet moments, riding horses through golden fields, sharing meals under open skies, and stealing glances that spoke louder than words. Emily discovered that trusting Alexander wasn't just about him, it was about believing in herself and the possibility of love. That night, as the storm passed and stars peeked through the clouds, she felt something she hadn't dared to feel before: hope. The ranch was quiet in the early morning light, the kind of stillness that felt almost sacred. Emily sat on the porch steps, wrapped in a soft blanket, watching the mist rise from the fields. She had come a long way since her arrival, but the journey wasn't without its bumps. Alexander appeared beside her, carrying 2 mugs of steaming coffee. He handed one to her with a gentle smile that made her heart skip. "You look thoughtful," he said, settling beside her. Emily sighed, the weight of unspoken fears pressing against her chest. "I've been thinking about how much I've changed, and how scared I still am." He nodded, understanding more than words could express. "Vulnerability isn't weakness," he said softly. "It's the bravest thing you can do." She turned to face him, eyes searching his. "How do you do it? Stay so strong, yet open?" Alexander took a slow breath. "I've had to learn. Life on the ranch demands strength, but real strength comes from facing your fears head on and letting someone in." They shared stories of their past, Alexander's battles with family expectations and the loneliness of his success, Emily's struggles with self-doubt and the fear of never being enough. In those moments, their walls came down, replaced by an intimacy neither had expected. Emily realized that vulnerability was not just about exposing pain, but about making space for love to grow. Later, as the sun climbed higher, Alexander took her hand and led her to the barn. He showed her an old worn saddle, a symbol of the life he'd built and the trust he was offering. "Will you ride with me?" he asked. With a mixture of nerves and excitement, Emily nodded. As they rode together through the open fields, she felt the barriers around her heart begin to crumble. That day marked a turning point. Vulnerability had become their bridge connecting to souls, learning to love beyond fear. The sun was high and hot, casting sharp shadows across the ranch. Emily stood at the edge of the corral, heart pounding not from fear of the wild horses but from the memories that had long haunted her. For years, she had carried the weight of her past, the mistakes, the lost chances, the silent pain of feeling unworthy. Now, in this place so far from her old life, those ghosts felt more real than ever. Alexander found her there, quiet and distant. Without saying a word, he came to her side, his presence steady and comforting. "I didn't know you carried so much," he said softly. Emily shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I've been running for so long. I thought I could leave it behind, but it follows me." He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "You don't have to run anymore, not with me." Their connection was tested that day not by the ranch, but by the past that threatened to pull them apart. Emily's vulnerability became their strength as Alexander showed her that love wasn't about perfection but about acceptance. He shared parts of his own story, the losses, the regrets, and the moments that had shaped him into the man she was beginning to love. Together, they faced the past, not as prisoners but as partners, ready to heal old wounds and build something new. That night, beneath a sky full of stars, Emily whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." Alexander smiled, his eyes full of promise. "I see all of you, and I'm here to stay." The ranch buzzed softly with life as dawn broke over the horizon, golden light spilling over fields that stretched endlessly beneath a clear blue sky. Emily stood on the porch, wrapped in a light shawl, her thoughts drifting back to the journey that had brought her here, from a frightened city girl to a woman discovering strength in love and vulnerability. Alexander appeared beside her, his familiar silhouette framed by the warm morning light. His eyes held a tenderness that made her heart flutter, a stark contrast to the hard, commanding man she had first met. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice low and steady, "about what it means to choose someone, not just for a night, or a moment, but forever." Emily turned to him, the hope she felt reflected in her gaze. "This ranch, this life, it's bigger than either of us, but what makes it real is who we choose to walk beside," he said, reaching out to take her hand. She squeezed his fingers gently. "I never thought I'd find a place where I belong, not just the land, but with someone." Alexander smiled, a mix of relief and joy shining through. "Then choose me. Choose us." Emily's eyes brimmed with tears, not of fear, but of acceptance and love. I choose you. And I choose to love, even with all its risks. They embraced, the promise of forever sealing itself in that moment of quiet understanding. The past had shaped them, the challenges had tested them, but it was their choice, to love, to trust, to build a future that defined them. As the sun climbed higher, warming the earth beneath their feet, Emily and Alexander stood together, ready to face whatever came next. Two hearts once guarded, now open and intertwined, choosing forever.